Hello, welcome back again. Alex Cobb here once again. Um, Jonathan Devlin, the white-haired devil here, or Silver Fox, whatever they're going by now. Um, Back once again because had an interesting conversation off camera, and we decided, hey, let's just turn the camera on because I talk a lot anyway. We might as well make some content out of it. So my question that was hanging in the air that really kind of got us started. Everybody has a different style and a different technique about how they approach a sales opportunity or even just an introduction. So for you, Jonathan, in particular, what is the favorite thing that you love to tell people first?
That I love to tell people.
Well, okay, let me rephrase. What's your favorite question to ask someone?
Okay, so my favorite question to ask them is what do they want out of the insurance? Which and the reason that's my favorite is because that helps me, like directs me to what kind of coverage they need or what exact product they need. Because obviously, different insurance products for different needs. So by finding out what they want it to achieve, then I'm able to help them with a product. For instance, if I ask them what they want it for, and they say, well, they just want something that's going to cover their final expenses. Well, then I maybe go to this one, or I need to cover a mortgage. Well, I may go here. Or it may not be either of those. It may be something else entirely, and I can go one or the other, or maybe something else. So that's my favorite question, and actually, and probably, I don't know, a very close second, or maybe even equally is what's your budget, because that too is going to determine. Obviously, it's not going to make me any, or it's not going to do the prospect any good if I were to present them with something that's outside of their budget. I mean, if they can't afford it, then it's kind of waste their time to even hear about it. You know what I mean?
Well, in a world full of property brokerage situations where they clearly will tell you the budget's $500,000 and they're looking at $2 million houses, who's to say what's outside the realm now?
And the thing is, so part of that is also listening. You heard the old adage, you want to listen more than you talk, and I think
my wife says it a lot.
Yeah. In insurance, I mean, just in sales in general, I think that's most important, because I can sit here and talk to someone, and obviously having to sell on the phone, like I talked about earlier, is a little bit different. It's a lot harder. So I find one, I can do more listening because I'm not having to pay or not paying attention to those cues. But two, when you get people talking, get to building rapport and get them talking, get them trusting you, and a lot of times they'll tell you things where, maybe when I ask if they tell me I only get $800 a month and my rent is this and this and this and this and this, and it comes down, they have $30 left at the end of the month, and I ask for their budget and they say 50 or 100, or then obviously I can, okay, well, maybe talk to them about that a little bit. But for the most part, most people are going to actually tell you lower. I mean, it's been my experience. Most people are actually going to tell you lower, and then when you go tell them how much coverage they can get for that, then they're like, well, maybe I can go this much more, So, but that gives you a starting point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's reverse that. What would be your least favorite question to have to ask?
My least favorite, really, there's no least favorite question. It actually depends on the answer, because like if I ask them, are you married, and they're, well, my spouse died of cancer last month, I don't that's not a good conversation. That's not, no way is that positive. So it's not necessarily the question, it's just the answer. If well, of course, some people, hey, I've been married to my wife for 50 years and it's been great. Well, that's a good question. if it's got a bad answer, it's a question I don't like. Or a lot of times, I ask people if they have a family history of cancer, heart attack, or stroke. Oh, I'm dealing with cancer right now, and probably I talked to one guy. He didn't say a different time frame, but he just said he's basically just waiting to die at this point because of cancer. And so the questions that bring about those types of conversations are my least favorite.
So you primarily deal with mostly, let's just say 55 and older clientele.
Yeah.
So just imagine if you had a younger clientele. What would be the answer then if you were dealing with, say, a 35-year-old healthy couple?
Honestly, I really can't think of one because in that case, if you're dealing with a young, healthy, couple, every question I ask is getting to helping them. So there's not really any question that I particularly don't like in that situation.
Well, and I asked the question that way because if you guys don't know, I'm not life certified. I'm not life licensed. I grew up in a household. My father, he's LUTCF, which is like PhD level life insurance. I can't do it because having to deliver some checks with him when I was younger with some widows, that broke me of that.
Yeah.
I can never do it. But what I hear frequently, and I remember this growing up with him, is the people that need it the most that really want it the least. And the difference when you have a young family is they need it just as much as the older individual probably does for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really get them to call to action, whatever you want to call it. Like their buying decision is based on completely different logic than someone who may be 15 years older and the kid's already out of the house,
right?
Versus a young family. But you mentioned before, and I've kind of seen the results because knowing you before, knowing you now, whatever the sales program that they put you guys through, it's like Marine boot camp. You came out different than you went in. So, and I mean that in a good way. Because being persistent is annoying in every other aspect of life, but when you're in sales, you have to be persistent.
Right.
But you also have to be compassionate about it because, like you said, scenarios are different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And with cancer numbers being what they are, with COVID numbers being what they are, we either know somebody who's got it and died or somebody that, is on their way. So,
right.
The conversations are different than they've ever been, but I just want to get your opinion on that. So, anything else you want to bring up about, kind of what your ideal conversations are?
Oh, my ideal conversation is my ideal conversation is obviously someone who understands the need for life insurance and wants it. But going back to what you said earlier about I lost my train of thought.
The need for it, having the money for it.
Yeah, the people that need it most, being least likely to buy, and that is true. Because when you talk about life insurance, depending on what part of the country, and average funeral these days is about $10,000 to $15,000. Not a lot of people have $10,000 they can, pull out and throw on the table. Cremation be a couple thousand. And obviously people who are lower income and don't have a lot of money, and they don't have family that can help them. Well, obviously their family isn't in that great of a position either if they can't help them, right? So it's their family that's going to have to come up with that $10,000 to $15,000. So these people need it most. but they have the least amount of money to buy it. Of course, then I'll have somebody call me who, may have $10,000 or $15,000 sitting in the bank. That'd be like, yeah, we'll get insurance, so I can just leave this to my kids. No problem. So it really is. In a lot of the conversations I have, with lower income people, is overcoming those objections, not to get a sale, not to benefit me. And I actually have to have that conversation a lot of times. Look, I don't get a commission. I'm here to help people, and I'm trying to help you because I don't want your family to be in that position. And and sometimes it's, hey, you can only afford $5,000. You need $10,000 to $15,000, and it just kills me because a lot of times I have people that are like, well, that won't do it. That won't be enough. I'm like, you're right, but
something's better than nothing.
It's $5,000 that your family's not going to have to come up with. That way, they don't have to come up with $5,000, not $10,000. And that's probably the hardest conversation I have because most of the people I have that conversation with have the all or nothing mentality, and so it's very hard to change that. And if I ever figure out the key to that, I mean, I'll be the most valuable employee our company ever had. And
just a moment. For those of you that with a keen ear that were really listening, he did not stutter when he mentioned about compensation. The way he gets paid is probably different than you imagine. Not every job in insurance, and especially sales, not every sales job is going to be 100% commission. There are different compensation structures that are out there. His happens to be a combination. So he didn't misspeak when he said that. He's correct.
Yeah, so the way our compensation works,
we'll save that topic because the reason I say that, and I'm not just giving a shameless tease here. It's because that topic is so in depth. There is more than one way to get paid. And it's possible for you to work with the same company and have more than one way to get paid. So it may be a bonus structure, it may be a base structure, it may be a commission structure, or some combination thereof. So, just because the answer is this in June, it may be different in July. So we'll set aside one video just for that topic. So that means you got to come back. But ideal is kind of a Pollyanna-ish word. You deal with the clients as they are. So, having enough money to pay for it, getting to understand the need that they have versus the one that they think. Right. I don't care whether it's life insurance. I don't care whether it's property. I don't care if it's commercial. Those are the same battles that we're all going to face at some point in time. It's just a different trigger that's kind of, the one that's going to push them over the edge or make them recoil. So I do think there's some value in this, and I realize you life guys tend to kind of, think you rule the roost, but you can learn something from us PNC people too. Just remember that. But anything else you want to add on,
Just, I don't know, just what you're saying just made me think of this. But now a lot of times we do get people that they'll call and say, I want this. And in a very short conversation, we find out they don't need that. Like a guy wants to get cremated, but he calls wanting $500,000 in term life insurance. Most I recommend for a cremation is $5,000, so you don't need $500,000. So that's
So is he using it for like an estate planning? Is that what he's trying to accomplish?
A lot of times those people
see the Select Quote commercial.
Exactly. They see a commercial. They say
$14.
They see a movie where someone died and someone got $1 million, and they don't know the reality. And some of them, you can have that conversation with them about reality, and they'll get it, and they'll say, okay. Others, it's like, well, that's too much. When you actually give them a quote, when you're trying to talk to them, and they're like, I just want to go. And then, okay, well, you give them a quote. Well, that's too much. And then click, So, yeah, it's, it goes back to what you said, one of our other things about us being advisors. If you got a good insurance agent, well, first of all, I think if you're, just like anything else, if you're buying insurance, you should probably look for a good agent that comes, recommended and things like that. that's going to steer you the right way, and take that advice. You may not necessarily agree with that advice. You may not decide to go with it, but at least consider that advice instead of deciding that you know everything about insurance. Because, I mean, honestly, I didn't know a whole lot about insurance until I had to take a licensing class. So,
And let's be honest, most of your education with insurance is after you've gotten your license.
It is.
Let's be honest.
Yep.
So, we don't claim to know everything about everything, but we do know the people to go talk to and the questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So as always, guys, if you got a comment, post it below. If you like it, if you don't like it, either way, we thrive off the comments. Hit that subscribe button and tell a friend. Till we meet again, because we got to come back and have a really interesting conversation about commissions. So, Jonathan, you want to sign off?
All right. Well, yeah, just it's great being here, and hope to see y'all again.